Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to our training, Sustainability Challenges and Opportunities in Wood and Furniture Industry. My name is Jasna Kovcin. I am an international consultant in the fields of digital and sustainable transformation. We will discuss some of the key questions and some of the possible answers related to corporate sustainability, the challenges and the opportunities to tackle this complex set of issues. The objective of this training is not only to help you understand what corporate sustainability is and why it is important for any organization. It is really to help you assess and seize the strategic relevance of corporate sustainability, help you understand how to seize the opportunities that sustainability can provide to create a successful organization. Sustainability has long been on the agenda at many companies. But for decades, their environmental, social, and governance activities have been disconnected from the core strategy. Most still take a fragmented, reactive approach, launching ad hoc initiatives to enhance their green credentials, to comply with regulations, or to deal with emergencies, rather than treating sustainability as a strategic issue with a direct impact on business results. That's no longer sufficient. In an era of constrained resources and tighter regulatory requirements, as well as growing demand for sustainable products and services, good corporate governance and social responsibility become strategic assets of successful companies. Where such challenges arise, opportunities also lie. The choice for companies today is not if, but how they should manage their sustainability activities. Companies can choose to see this agenda as a necessary evil, a matter of compliance, or a risk to be managed while they get on with the business as usual, or they can think of it as a novel way to open up new business opportunities while creating value for society. However, capturing sustainability's full potential is complicated. In essence, a company must first determine its baseline performance on sustainability issues and then decide on a portfolio or initiatives to create value in those areas. But while many companies understand the impact of their own operations on issues from carbon emission to human rights, they often have little or no understanding of the impact of the entire value chain. Moreover, most companies do not actively seek opportunities to invest in any area of sustainability and therefore miss potential growth for opportunities. But let's take a macroeconomic view of the subject for a moment. It was a historic moment when the United Nations community adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in September 2015. The agenda reflects the international community's promise to face the challenges of the 21st century together and make a life of dignity and prosperity possible for all human beings. The challenge is huge. It is expected that Earth will be home to almost 10 billion people by 2050, about 2.4 billion more than today. The global need for healthy food, affordable housing, and clean energy will continue to increase as a result. However, resources are already being used at a rate that exceeds the Earth's regenerative capacity. The goal must therefore be to find an efficient way of utilizing the scarce and increasingly expensive resources, commodities, energy, and land, while bearing in mind the need to conserve these resources. To do so, growth and prosperity must, as far as possible, be uncoupled from the use of these finite resources. We need to rethink the way we consume the Earth's resources in order to reduce our dependency on fossil and mineral resources and pave the way for a bio-based society sustained by the use of renewable resources and energies. We need definitely new concepts. But besides global climate change, we are also discussing child labor, workers' rights, political upheaval, and human rights. Just a few examples of the challenges that corporate executives now face on a daily basis. These issues, and many, many more like them, have become a central part of the creation of stakeholder value and the management of both global and local enterprises. Managers are often challenged as to how to manage the paradox of simultaneously improving social, environmental, and financial performance, the three elements that make up sustainable performance. and how to integrate them into day-to-day management decisions when managers at all the levels have significant incentive pressures to increase short-term earnings. Even if sustainability is a buzzword of today, we still have difficulties finding a universal definition. Most commonly accepted view is that sustainability means economic development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. When we are talking about sustainability, we need to keep in mind all the three pillars of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. Leading companies have increasingly recognized the critical importance of managing and controlling corporate social and environmental performance. This motivation might be driven by internal factors such as management commitment to sustainability as a core value, or by management recognition that sustainability can create financial value for the company through enhanced revenues and lower costs. Often, however, there are strong external pressures such as legal regulations, market demands, competitors' actions, or pressures from NGOs. Managers have now recognized the importance of stakeholder input and engagement and the potential impact on long-term corporate profitability. The consequences for businesses when they do not effectively consider the impact of their actions on society are often substantial. It is unlikely that any company has fully integrated or achieved sustainability. This is a huge task, but numerous companies have taken important steps toward improving their sustainability performance and reducing their negative social and environmental impacts. Business leaders who want to respond sensibly to activist calls for corporate responsibility should think about the issue in the same way that they would with any other business problem. Sustainability cannot be managed as just a public relations strategy to pacify stakeholder concerns or to call greenwashing. Doing so can be quite risky as stakeholders expect actions and results to be consistent with rhetoric. So, what are the drivers of sustainability? Over the last years, there has been an expansion of global sustainability standards issued by international organizations. And to date, perhaps the most comprehensive and visible of those global standards is represented by the United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. The 17 SDGs are adopted by 193 UN countries. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. The SDGs have become the common language and overall framework for developing, managing, and communicating sustainable business strategies, goals, and related activities. On European Union level, climate change is recognized as one of the greatest challenges. By 2050, the world will be consuming as if there were 3 Earths, planets, and not only one. Global consumption of materials such as biomass, fossil fuels, metals, and minerals is expected to double in the next 40 years, while annual waste generation is projected to increase by 70% by 2050. As half of total greenhouse gas emissions and more than 90% of biodiversity's loss and water stress come from resource extraction and processing, the European Green Deal launched a concerned strategy for a climate-neutral, resource-efficient, and competitive economy. Scaling up the circular economy from frontrunners to mainstream economic players will make a decisive contribution to achieving climate neutrality by 2050. Even if most of the proposed standards remain voluntary and are multi-stakeholder in the sense that they call for action of governments, companies, civil society, and the individuals, we can see that increasing number of goals, like European Green Deal goals, turn into national strategies, directives, industry standards, initiatives, and regulations. If we take a look at wood in context of selected political strategies which promote green, circular, and bioeconomy, we find a number of regulations on the international, national, and EU level. For example, as we already mentioned, United Nations set agenda for sustainable development, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and G7 Summit Leaders Declaration. On the level of European Union, we have EU Forest Strategy, initiatives as Innovation Union and Resource Efficient Europe, as well as EU Circular Economy Action Plan. On the national level, let's take Germany for example, there is a number of policies like National Forest Strategy, Climate Action Plan, National Sustainable Development Strategy, Program for Sustainable Consumption, and so on. Non-compliance with regulations was, and still is, costly, as regulatory non-compliance costs to companies include penalties and fines, legal costs, lost productivity due to additional inspections, potential closure of operations, the related effects on corporate reputation. Customers are changing. The general public, consumers and NGO activists, even employees, are becoming increasingly aware of the issue and the impact that companies have on society and the environment. Identifying these issues that are important to key stakeholders and improving relationship can foster loyalty and trust. The health, economic and social crises of recent time have raised people's expectations about the role of business in solving global problems. Practicing eco-friendly habits has become nearly universal, and purchases of environmentally safe furnishing are on the rise. The three most important attributes respondents said they look for when purchasing furniture were unchanged from previous years, but sustainability concerns entered in the fourth position for the first time. 100% of people said that what is most important for them is style. Then comes quality with 98%, fair price with 95%, and the fact that the furniture is made with materials and processes that do not harm the environment is now 86%. According to the report, over 86% of home furnishing purchasers would choose eco-friendly home furnishing if they like the style and the price was within their budget. This change in consumers' reference confirms that we are at the stage in which integrating sustainability into a company's strategy will help it achieve a competitive advantage in the long term. Economic profit. Sustainability can also create financial value for the company through enhanced revenues and lower costs. In other words, managing sustainability is just a good business decision. Revenues can be increased through increased sales due to improved corporate reputation. Costs can be lowered due to process improvements, identifying and cutting costs related to unnecessary electricity and water consumption, making vehicle fleet more efficient, getting rid of overpackaging, and so on. Environmental, social, and governance funds assets continue to grow dramatically, driven by new product launches, money inflows, and fund rebrandings. Global ESG funds assets increased to 3.9 trillion in September 2021. Up from 1.65 trillion at the end of 2020 and only 1.28 trillion at the end of 2019. Indeed, investments in ESG have increased significantly during the COVID-19 pandemic because they are perceived as safer havens. The perception is that sustainable companies have superior management quality and a better ability to measure and manage unusual risks, example climate change. Societal and moral obligation. A personal concern for social and environmental impacts and their social and moral obligation has led some executives and corporations to include sustainability in their strategies. Some companies, like Patagonia, the outdoor clothing company, wants to put the environment first in their business. They are one of the first companies to reuse materials. In contrast, General Electric has made it clear that they're focusing on innovation and the environment in order to increase revenues and stay competitive. CEO of the company made it clear that this is about business first. In any case, limited statistics that we're having so far is clear. Sustainable companies outperform their benchmarking peers, especially if companies committed to creating value through sustainability efforts. Standards and certifications for suppliers. 78% of leading companies say that they have mostly or completely integrated sustainability into the management of their supply chains, while other smaller companies are following with 37%. And when global players like IKEA make changes in their worker and environmental practices, they can move through their global supply chain. Instruments that companies are usually using to facilitate environmental improvements by their suppliers is to require compliance with third-party environmental certifications and/or with their own specific environmental and quality standards. Most common requests is use of FSC certified wood for part of their products, a certification that guarantees that wood is sourced from responsibly managed forests. They also control the compliance of incoming products with environmental and quality standards they set. IKEA demands ISO 40001 certification, environmental management system from their suppliers and the compliance with its own code of conduct for responsibly sourcing products, services, materials and components. It is a mandatory standard and sets clear expectations for environmental, social and working conditions, as well as animal welfare for all suppliers and services providers that work with IKEA. Some other smaller companies whose family-run suppliers would not afford the high cost of compliance and certification, they ensure that the environmental features of the products are guaranteed by a tough internal control system, while the control of suppliers' manufacturing process is less formalized and more based on first-hand knowledge of the processes used by suppliers. This is achieved through frequent on-site visits and by co-developing process innovations. European Union law requires certain large companies to disclose information on the way they operate and manage social and environmental challenges. This helps investors, civil society organizations, consumers, policymakers and other stakeholders to evaluate the non-financial performance of large companies and encourages these companies to develop a responsible approach to business. European Union rules on non-financial reporting currently apply to large public interest companies with more than 500 employees. This covers approximately 11,700 large companies and groups across the Union. Under non-financial reporting directive, large companies have to publish information related to environmental matters, social matters, and treatment of employees, respect for human rights, anti-corruption and bribery, diversity on company boards in terms of age, gender, educational and professional background. Good performance on sustainability can garner a positive reputation with stakeholders and improve community relations and business performance. Alternatively, the consequences of mismanaging sustainability and stakeholder relationship can be significant and costly in terms of reputational damage and potential impact on the bottom line. No doubt that sustainability journey is a bumpy ride with lots of challenges. Presented barriers are part of a study that aims to contribute to a greater understanding of the factors that limits the implementation of transition to circular economy as perceived by European furniture companies. This is not meant to discourage you, of course you will not be facing all of them. Barriers are largely subjective and depend on location of the company, markets served, age and size of company, materials used, outsourcing activities and so on. But let's mention some of the most common challenges. In the policy area, companies are sometimes facing lack of support from public institutions or incoherent policies at different levels. On some markets, negative perception of recycled products still exists, as well as lack of consumers' awareness and interest. Also lack of incentive to design for end-of-life products, leading to price sensitivity of the product on the consumer's side. Some companies are having fragmented supply chains. Some have very complex products. Some are facing a low value of raw product material at the end of the life cycle. Often there is a lack of resources in technical sense, like recycling and recovery technology, lack of qualified professionals or circular economy knowledge. On the strategy development side, very often there is an unclear business case, lack of financial resources, and even if a company creates a strategy, we see lack of commitment on the leader's side and lack of interest to really implement it. Talking about circular economy, it is a new way of creating value. It works by expanding product lifespan through improved design and servicing, and relocating waste from the end of the supply chain to the beginning. In effect, using resources more effectively by using them over and over, not only once. Today's manufacturing takes raw materials from the environments and turn them into new products, which are then disposed into the environment after use. It's a linear process with a beginning and an end. In this system, limited raw materials eventually run out and waste accumulates. On top of that, manufacturing processes are often themselves inefficient, leading to further waste of natural resources. In a circular economy, however, products are designed for durability, reuse, and recyclability, and materials for new products come from old products. As much as possible, everything is reused, remanufactured, recycled back into a raw material, used as a source of energy or as a last resort disposal. Therefore, wood is a perfect material to be used in circular economy. Wood is also really multi-talented. Whether it is used as a basis for textiles, as a substitute for plastic, or for a multi-story residential building in the city, few materials are as versatile as wood. It absorbs CO2 through photosynthesis and wood growth, and when wood is harvested and used, the carbon remains stored in the resulting products. Wood is perfect energy substitute also. Using wood replaces finite fossil energy sources such as oil, gas, or coal. And it's good material substitute because wood products usually require less energy to manufacture and dispose of than products made from other materials. At the same time, the development of innovative products and processes has the potential to give rise to completely new fields of application of wood. Combining wood with other materials and working with other sectors therefore contribute to the advancement of a so-called bio-based economy, supported also by the Global Reforestation Plan. Let's see some examples of sustainable use of wood. The construction sector is one of the most resource-intensive industries. 90% of all utilized mineral resources are used to manufacture construction materials and products. This means that the construction sector accounts for a significant share of the required energy and the CO2 emissions they cause. Less fossil energy is usually required to manufacture and dispose of construction materials made from wood than materials made from finite mineral resources. Building with wood can therefore make a considerable contribution to reducing CO2 emissions and consequently to climate change mitigation. We have around 18% of single-family and two-family houses made from wood. But when it comes to multi-family residential construction, here we are on only 2%. In high-rise apartment building construction, wood construction is limited to a few reference buildings and flagship projects. In cities, wood construction is therefore still clearly underrepresented. All through the technical and economic advantages of wood as a construction material are obvious when it comes to meeting the growing demands for affordable urban housing. Alongside new construction, the modernization and renovation of existing buildings also play an important role. Roughly 2/3 of the wood used in the construction sector is used in modernization and renovations, such as to create extra living space or to renovate buildings in a way that increases their energy efficiency. And at the end of its useful life, the wood used in buildings can be recycled or reused as thermal energy, both of which are outcomes that have positive effects on the climate. HOHO building is short for Holz Hochhaus, which stands for wooden skyscraper. This is an 85 meters high, 34 stories tall, 25,000 square meters building currently being built in Vienna, made out of 75% wood. 16,000 square meters cross laminated timber. The timber and wood used for the building, mostly local spruce, regrows in the Austrian forest in 75 minutes. The Siasa is an all-wooden high Alpine family home in South Tyrol. Based on the archaic form of the house, no distinction is made between roof and facade. The three above-ground floors consist entirely of wood from the surrounding forests. The load-bearing structure made of spruce, the interior surfaces and the specially made furniture made of solid hand-planted stone pile. The facade is clad with a tenon with a hand-split large springles, all sourced from nearby forests, processed by local craftsmen. The concrete for the basement consists of dolomite rocks from the stream flowing past. The Arco greenhouse is an example of sustainable bamboo architecture, the first building of its kind ever made. The Arc is built in Bali from a series of intersecting 14-meter-tall bamboo arches, spanning 19 meters, interconnected by anticlastic grid shells which derive their strength for curving in two opposite directions. The Arc employs one of the nature's greatest strategies for creating large spaces with minimum structure. So why use bamboo in construction? Because of its strength, beauty, and flexibility, and also because with its 4-year growth cycle and carbon sequestration capacity, it is the most environmentally conscious building material conceivable. Bamboo have been used for 10,000 years, but not until recently that we know how to protect it from insects and make it even stronger and longer lasting. Many exhibitors construct temporary showrooms without considering the waste and pollution caused by them. To counter this problem, an outdoor pavilion was designed to unveil a comprehensive and sustainable design solution. The architect used plywood for its particularity to be recycled for secondary use. 821 pieces of prefabricated local market standard size plywood were used. It can be easily assembled or disassembled on site within 48 hours, which drastically minimizes time and construction costs. After the exhibition, the entire building was transformed into 410 sets of tables and chairs suited for nearby communities. Even if we are going to talk about eco-friendly furniture more later, I would like to point out a few things here. A steadily growing number of designers are opting for eco-friendly furniture as a gesture toward environmental protection. Sustainable furniture assures longevity, beauty, and strength. They're made with minimal amount of chemicals or pollutants. Recycled content like plastic, glass, metal, salvaged wood and recycled fabric, wood pellets are effective to combat environmental-related concerns. Then materials which do not emit toxins, carcinogen and volatile organic compounds, and some from certified farms, and guarantee socially sustainable work and ecology growing and harvesting. Then local production, etched out by local artisans. Less processing, furniture which involves less processing time, lower carbon emissions, and consumes lesser natural resources like water, and facilitates use of alternative energy resources like solar power. Upscaling furniture, on the basis of existing furniture pieces by changing finishing materials like fabric, veneer, laminate, and so on, to give an entirely new look. Fair trade practices are also important. Companies making this furniture essentially practice fair trade, which involves fair pay and no exploitation for workers. Durability is a key, as cheap-priced pieces don't last as long and end up in landfills soon after purchase. Honex is an innovative Barcelona-based company that manufactures a carbon-neutral, circular, biotech process that upcycles waste fibers into fully recyclable, non-toxic panels. These panels have an outstanding sustainability profile and mechanical properties suitable to be used as indoor cladding and partitioning. The Honex industrial process is bio-based, zero waste, and resin-free. Today, Honex uses as main raw material the sludge waste from paper mills and post-consumer cardboard waste. Only in the European Union, paper mills generate more than 7 million tons of this waste every year. Onyx panels have a wide range of applications for the interior furniture and built environment. The tools and fastening systems used for onyx are identical to those used for wood. And again, we have bamboo, but this time as advanced biotech composite, based on a patent of Mrs. Marcelina Manson, the former Deputy Director General of Forest Research Institute of Malaysia. Architect Professor Dr. Ramesh Biswas creates prefabricated walls and plates for interior and exterior use and free forms made out of pulp. Local carpenters in Europe are producing the plates out of raw material and by bamboo fibers. The product is stronger than concrete or steel, has almost no moisture or water intake, is lightweight, and can be reused after the end of lifetime of the building. Peter Opswick's award-winning Trip Trap chair is a perfect example of sustainable innovation and design for environment. The chair is meant to last a lifetime by adjusting and growing with the child. These were just some of the random sustainability good practices, but let's talk now a bit more about sustainability along the company's value chain. First, let's have a common understanding of what a value chain is. A value chain is used to describe all the business activities it takes to create a product from start to finish. A value chain analysis gives businesses a visual model of their activities, allowing us to determine where we can reduce costs, improve efficiency, create more value, and, in our case, implement sustainability practices, all in order to increase margins and establish an advantage over competitors. Michael Porter, a Harvard Business School professor, introduced a simple value chain model in his book Competitive Advantage. He developed the steps to perform a value chain analysis and split business activities into two categories: primary and support. Specific activities in each category will vary according to the industry. Primary activities are essential for adding value, and they consist of inbound logistics. This is the transportation and receiving of raw materials from suppliers. This activity also involves managing and sourcing materials. Then operations. Operations are how the materials and resources are produced, resulting in a final product or service. Here you may also look at the warehouse, machinery, and assembly line, product design. Then outbound logistics. When a product or service is finished, it needs to be distributed. Outbound logistics describe your ordering and delivering process. Marketing and sales is the next step. This is how your product or service is presented and sold to the ideal target market. These involve making decisions about distribution channels, pricing, promotions, and so on. And finally, service. After-sales service are activities of maintaining the value of your product. Refers to customer service, maintenance, repair, refund, and exchange. Supporting activities are managing activities within the value chain model. They aim at assisting the primary value chain activities. First, the firm infrastructure. This is a company's organizational structure and daily operations for all the value chain activities, both primary and support. The infrastructure consists of management, planning, finance, and quality control, to name a few. Then human resource management encompasses all the processes and systems involved in managing and retaining employees and hiring new staff. Technology development helps a business innovate, and technology can be used in various steps of the value chain. Procurement. This is how the resources and materials for a product are sourced and suppliers are found. The goal is to find quality suppliers that fit company standards, requirements, and budget. Now let's have an example from furniture industry. By analyzing the various stages of the furniture value chain, like input, production, final product assembly, distribution, and sales, I would like to highlight a variety of green strategies and how these are transmitted from some of the leading firms to other actors along the furniture value chain. According to the survey administered to Italian furniture firms, input provision and production are the functions more often at the center of improved environmental practices. In relation to inputs, the main environmental challenges concern resource consumption and the reduction of biodiversity generated by inconsiderable use of forests. This is usually addressed through the use of certified wood and recycled raw materials. In relation to production processes, the main environmental concerns are emissions and hazardous substances, which are usually handled through the use of lower polluting varnishing systems and by reducing the use of chemicals and energy. I would like to explain on the example of two companies, Valcucini and IKEA, different ways of greening a value chain to highlight how different mechanisms could lead to a similar set of outcomes. These two firms were selected because both are successful in their respective markets and are committed to sustainability. They are a contrast in terms of environmental approach, size, business model, and internalization strategies. For IKEA, sustainability is a tool to reduce costs. For Valcucini, it is a part of differentiation strategy. IKEA, Swedish-based company, is the typical multinational firm. Actually, the largest furniture retailer worldwide, selling low-cost items that have been produced by a large number of suppliers all over the world. Valcucini is located in northeast Italy. It's a typical district firm producing high-end furniture, relying on a wide network of mainly local partners. IKEA employs 2,200 people. Social and environmental sustainability are currently integrated into the firm's overall strategy. In the early 80s, IKEA took up the environmental challenge as a response to policy and media pressure. Later, it became more proactive and developed a coherent environmental strategy, since it recognized that there was a huge potential in terms of cost saving. Valcucini, on the other hand, employs only 170 people. Their success relies on its business model, a mix of high product quality, attractive aesthetic design, technological innovation, and attention towards sustainability. The firm has prioritized the reduction of the environmental impact of production and consumption since the beginning. As it grew, this feature became one of its core competitive advantages, strongly built in its corporate culture and brand. Both firms outsource the majority of production activities and are focusing mainly on higher value-added functions, such as design and marketing. They represent examples of the manufacturers without factories. However, the two firms organize their value chains completely differently. IKEA has some productive facilities, managing almost all the manufacturing steps of the wood furniture value chain, but representing a minor part of the firm's input, and relies on a wide and global network of suppliers, almost over 1,000 of them. Valcucini does not perform any manufacturing activity except for assembly, and relies on a network of almost 300 suppliers to manufacture kitchen components, located mainly in the proximity of Valcucini. While design and marketing have gained much importance, the retailing function is still the most important activity for the Swedish multinational. IKEA-branded products are sold exclusively through IKEA stores. IKEA products are designed and developed mainly by them. Collaboration with suppliers is needed for the introduction of more complex innovation, but more often it is IKEA that shares knowledge and information with suppliers to ensure the upgrading of their technological and environmental capabilities. For Valcucini, design and marketing are the major activities that are performed in-house. Sales are carried out by specialized retailers all over the world and through a few flagship stores. Valcucini is responsible for the marketing and the aesthetic design of almost all their new products, but cooperates with suppliers on the more technical features. Both firms are committed to reduce their impact on the environment, but differ in the priority they place on different environmental problems and on the approach they take to tackle them. IKEA's priorities are reducing greenhouse gas emissions and managing a sustainable use of natural resources, while Valcucini's ones are reducing the amount of materials used in the production process, reducing the environmental impact of the furniture disposal, and improving recyclability. In addition to reducing the environmental impact at the input level, Valcucini focuses mainly on innovation in the final product. IKEA focuses on production, distribution, and sales. As far as inputs are concerned, IKEA requires parts of its wood furniture to be made by wood coming from forests that are certified as responsibly managed, substituting solid wood to the advantage of board materials and using renewable, reclaimed, and recyclable materials. Valcucini uses materials such as aluminium and glass, which are recyclable and require a lower amount of glues and other chemicals. As far as wood is concerned, it uses species grows in purposely created plantations or in European forests in which certified forestry projects are in course. More importantly, the design developed by the company enabled a drastic reduction of raw materials used. The strongest focus for IKEA is on the processes, reducing the impact of production and distribution on greenhouse gas emissions, soil and health, rather than on the product itself. Coherently with the policy of the firm to produce at the lowest cost, IKEA continuously introduces incremental innovations aiming at reducing materials and energy use and at minimizing waste throughout the product's life cycle. Thanks to the flat packaging design and the assemble-it-yourself model, also born as an additional way of keeping costs at the lowest level, the company is able to lower emissions throughout distribution. Furthermore, it is continuously improving energy efficiency and the use of renewable energy at its stores. Moreover, it has planted special pallets made by recycled and recyclable plastics that optimize storage and transportation, using low-emission trucks to ship its products. Valcucini has also introduced process innovations to improve eco-efficiency, reducing toxic emissions and waste. 20 years ago, it was the first Italian kitchen manufacturer to obtain ISO 14001 environmental certification. To reduce the level of formaldehyde and other toxic emissions linked to its products, it developed together with the suppliers a waterborne varnish to be applied on its wood products. All packaging used by Valcucini and other main suppliers is made without using polystyrene and employs recycled cardboards and paper tape. However, Valcucini is not involved in the reduction of environmental impacts at the level of distribution and retail, given that it has no direct control of these functions. At the same time, it has much stronger commitment than IKEA on reducing the environmental impact of the product itself. Through careful design, Valcucini's kitchen embedded several features that make them environmentally cutting edge. Kitchens are designed to be technically and aesthetically durable. Most of Valcucini's products are also highly recyclable. Some kitchen models are 100% recyclable. Thanks to raw material selection, example glass and aluminium, and the use of one material components that are put together purely by mechanical joints. The comparative case analysis suggests that both IKEA and Valcucini governed the greening process by engaging in deep relations with their suppliers, rather than by implementing purely market-based relations. They contributed to suppliers' innovative activities, they ensured suppliers' environmental performance through monitoring, and they supported the rolling out of green strategies. These approaches introduce high switching costs for them. To minimize greening costs, these two firms engaged in long-term, complex relationship with suppliers and concentrated their efforts mainly towards strategic supplies. They required the achievement of minimum levels of environmental performance from all suppliers, but demanded the development of more complex innovations. Becoming more sustainable can start with small steps in any stage of the product life cycle or the value chain, such as more sustainable materials, manufacturing practices, or transportation. So where is the best place to begin? The importance of a good start is to have a solid understanding of the value chain and its different suppliers from the outset until the finished product. It will then be possible to define realistic objectives and a clear roadmap at both the brand and the supply chain level. There are 5 basic steps to begin your journey. First of all, understand your value chain. Then define your objectives, as the G's can be here of help. Do a supply and value chain assessment from environmental and chemical, also social aspect, as it is at the moment. Do a product level sustainability and do your traceability assessment. This might require additional explanation. So according to United Nations Global Compact, traceability is the ability to identify and trace the history, distribution, location and applications of products, parts and materials to ensure the reliability of sustainability claims in the areas of human rights, labor, the environment and anti-corruption. So when material sources and production techniques are verifiable, third-party certifications are able to confirm any claims being made. These are extremely useful as supply chain continue to increase in complexity, with nearly all products requiring the collaboration of multiple businesses to complete the development of raw materials into final goods. This certification can be used to verify claims relating to all pillars of sustainability. For example, sustainability harvested timber and fair trade practices, but there are hundreds of others. So if you run your journey toward more sustainability, you're luckily not completely alone. There are lots of helpful resources like questionnaires or design guides, which makes your analysis easier and will help you through the process of sustainable product designs. Let me show you some of the few examples. Governments, NGOs and public bodies like chambers as well as academia are publishing textbooks, methodologies and guidelines which lead you through the process. Examples and case studies are also of help, also to increase the awareness in your own company and along your value chain. Look for Design for Environment guidelines. It is a set of questions for each phase of a product's life cycle that will lead you to more ecological and innovative products. Some leading design companies like IDEO are publishing design guides and templates which will make your work much easier. There are a lot of questionnaires, like one published by consulting company Warp Innovation from Vienna, which help you analyze ecological, social and economic aspect of your business and help you get started. This will give you plenty of ideas and motivation. But keep in mind the following things. It is very important, no matter which actions you intend to take to make a sustainability your priority on a strategic level and address these topics to fulfill your organizational purpose, to align with your goals, mission and values. When it comes to implementing sustainability strategies, establish clear and focused priorities, set targets and goals, and develop key performance indicators for sustainability. It is also crucial for success to engage workforce in sustainability efforts, to make it part of corporate culture, so they can understand how sustainability efforts align with the company's strategy. Put effort in understanding customer expectations and response with changes in your products. Seek customer input on sustainability attributes of your products and services and highlight that attributes in your marketing efforts. While companies can do a lot on their own to improve their sustainability performance, many face challenges that are industry-specific or related. To address these systemic difficulties, companies might form coalitions with industry peers and work together on setting new standards, promoting technological innovation, or advocating for policy shifts. So to wrap up, sustainability is not only important from a macroeconomic perspective, as we all need to participate in the battle for a better future with almost no ecological damage, more social equality and inclusion, and economic resilience, but is also for every single company an important strategic asset of the near future. Besides regulations, laws, and standards, and quickly increasing awareness among stakeholders, in the near future investments will be more and more based also on sustainability factors. Public fundings will have sustainability as an important assessment criteria. Big projects, especially when co-funded by public, will have to meet strict sustainability criteria, thus creating possibilities for companies offering solutions for this. But most important, we can see a quickly changing behavior of the customers, which are integrating sustainability as a major selection and buying criteria, often even willing to pay a premium for more sustainable solutions. From the perspective of especially small and medium enterprises, this does not need too much effort. Questionnaires, sustainable design guides, collaboration with academia, product designers and other companies often will help to find some quick wins, and the sum of lots of small steps leads to giant leaps.